Hello everybody and welcome back to my newest video. In this video we are drawing some fried carrots and I hope you're going to like it. Let's define simple shapes in our picture. As we can see, the illustration is quite simple. All that's here is the frying pan, which consists of an ellipse, and the carrots, which remind us of a triangle. Let's move our shapes to the sides and use them as a guide when drawing a sketch. I take a gray-brown shade and a sketch brush. I'll make it smaller and just draw the same shapes that we outlined on the reference. I added all the colors to the color palette, which you can download by following the link in the description. So, draw an ellipse. It can be enlarged a little. If you want the illustration to be identical to the reference, then you will need to change the canvas size. I don't need it, so I'm not going to do that. Let's draw the handle. So take a look, we have thickness on the frying pan that needs to be shown. To do this, we will increase the space here like this, and that's it. We will also increase it here, here, and also on this side. And also at the bottom. Now we have the thickness of the frying pan. To show the height of this wall on our frying pan, we can draw some dashed lines here. Now we have our frying pan. We don't need to draw anything else, since we'll color it in the future and show the entire volume of our object with colors. Let's erase the unnecessary lines. Something like this. Now let's draw the carrots. We can draw them on the same layer, or we can also open a new layer. Open the layers menu, click on the plus, and a new layer appears. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole carrots. The rest are behind these 5 carrots. We don't have to draw them perfectly, we use the same brush and we begin to draw. They are all pretty crooked, as you may have noticed. Here is one, here is the second. We'll make our third carrot a little longer, just like in the reference. The fourth carrot. Before we draw the next carrot, we'll make our layer a little smaller. It's a little big, I would say. And now let's draw our fifth carrot. All we have left to do is draw only those carrots that lie behind the main carrots. Let's bring out their ends. Now we just need to draw the tails of the carrots. Let's compare our tails with the reference. We don't have to draw them perfectly, we just need to see roughly how to draw them and quickly draw them. And that's it. Our carrots are ready. Oh, here we forgot to draw another carrot. Let's draw it. And we only have to draw the last 2 carrot tails. Let's quickly draw them and our objects will be ready. So don't try to complicate your illustration. Draw it the way you see it. We don't have a goal to draw a realistic illustration. So look what we've got. We've got a great sketch with carrots. What we will do now, we'll go back to the previous layer where we drew the frying pan and erase all the lines that we no longer need, namely the lines under the carrots. Let's first make the carrots a little smaller. It seems to me a little big for our frying pan. Now we'll erase everything we don't need. To do this, we'll select the eraser and erase the unnecessary lines. Now, let's go back to the carrot layer. Take our brush that we used to draw the sketch and draw some parsley. Well, it's not necessary to draw it right now. You can also do it during the coloring process, but I decided to draw it a little at this stage. Let's quickly draw the tablecloth. Don't pay too much attention to this object, like seriously. This is our background. This is not what we need. This is not a priority for us. So let's continue with our tablecloth. Here we have several colors: blue, green, white. Just draw lines according to our reference and that's it. Here we don't have to draw a pattern on the tablecloth. Of course, you can draw squares or stripes, but as I already said, this is not necessary here. I will draw this at the stage when we color our sketch. What I would like to do in this illustration already at this stage is to draw a shadow on the sketch. To do this, let's open our layers and add a new layer. On this new layer, we will draw all the shadows that we need at this stage. So we have shadows here, you see? Let's just take another brush here, namely sketch 1. It has smoother and more even edges. And it seems to me that it will be easier to draw strokes with this brush. Let's go in this direction. Just start shading, don't be afraid. I draw the lines quite large, simply to save some time. You can make the strokes smaller or larger. Do as you like and as you find more convenient. Here we also have shadows. Let's add some strokes here too. There are some more shadows here. This part of the frying pan is all in shadow. So Now this upper part will also shade it. And all that's left is to shade the handle here. Let's add the remaining strokes at the top, and that's it. The shadows on the frying pan are over. If you want to darken the shadows even more, then draw more strokes on top of our strokes, directing them in the other direction. Your shadow will become darker this way. Now let's add shadows to the carrot. We don't have many shadows on the carrot, but we do have them, and let's show them. Let's draw some small strokes on this carrot. Basically, there is nothing much here, so there is no need to draw anything special. There is a shadow on this carrot, which is underneath. Don't linger too long at this stage, because we'll color everything soon. We'll apply shadows and highlights with the colored brushes, and we'll get a beautiful, juicy, autumny illustration. Guys, if you have some comments or have something to say, please share it with me in the comments. I'll be very happy to hear what you think, on what your thoughts are, and everything about your ideas. So, let's add a little more shadows here. Let's add a shadow here. That's all. So now let's remove our simple shapes. To do this, we'll go to our layers, select the layer with the simple shapes, and simply delete it. All that's left is our sketch. Now we need to color our sketch. We go to our layers, and now we add another layer and drag it under the layer with our frying pan. So I start coloring the illustration with the sketch brush. Now we are going to color the carrots. To do this, I choose a base color for it, namely orange in this case, and I start tracing. This is the first thing I do when coloring illustration, and yeah. Since we have several orange carrots, I will trace 3 carrots at once. Regarding time, sometimes I draw quickly, sometimes very quickly, and sometimes very slowly, depending on my mood or motivation. And of course, it depends on experience. The more you draw, the less time you spend on the illustration. That is, if I have been drawing very little lately, then I also color quite slowly, because my hand is not trained. If you don't draw anything at all, then the skill is lost and drawing becomes more difficult. So to color our carrots, I'm going to click on our color and drag it onto our carrot that we've outlined. I see here that this carrot could have been drawn thicker. Let it be as it is. We also forgot to draw this carrot. It's sticking out here. We'll fill it with the orange too. Now we begin to draw the shadows and highlights. I draw shadows and highlights with a marker brush. Our carrots now don't have quite the color we need, so let's take a slightly different shade and fill our carrots again. Now, to draw a shadow, we need a darker color. I open our layers, click on the layer with the orange carrots and select the alpha lock function. And now let's finally start drawing our shadows. I'll move the colors down so that this color menu doesn't close and it's easier to choose colors. Based on our reference, we'll draw the shadows. We have it a little darker here. A little here. I draw all the shadows, as I already said, with a marker brush. I don't need any other brush here. Look at the reference, pay attention to where exactly the shadows are, how they lie on the object. We'll make the carrot that lies under the other carrots much darker than those that lie on it. Don't be afraid to draw shadows. We won't ruin anything here. If we draw the shadows too dark, then in the process of highlighting, we can correct all of this. Let's add some shadows to this carrot. So now let's take an even darker color and highlight or darken a few more spots in our carrot. Here, here, a little bit more here. Let's take the orange color again and start drawing our highlights. I like to draw highlights much more than shadows because this is exactly the stage when the illustration gains volume. As you can see, all our carrots are covered in oil. Accordingly, we have a lot of highlights. We draw rather sloppily and chaotically. For this carrot, which is lying under all of them, we can take our previous orange color and outline the highlights with it. Let's take our lightest orange again and draw a highlighter on our next carrot. Now we choose a redder color because these carrots are quite red, and to make it look juicier, we will draw it redder than its neighbors. So let's add a little bit of red here. Thus we get a beautiful carrot, which we will soon finish. We will use a very light shade, almost white. We'll draw a light highlighter on the same layer. Our carrots are all in oil. You know what? Let's take this color first, brown, and we'll draw the burnt spots with it. Our carrots are fried, so there are these brown spots on them, and it's better to do this before adding white highlights. We don't have many brown spots on this carrot. It's a little darker here too. Let's draw some here as well. And this is our long carrot. It's also fried here in some places, and let's show it. Now we go back to our light shade to draw the highlights. We draw the highlights quite chaotically. Then we draw the highlight on this carrot. Here we'll depict the oil between the two carrots. We draw the highlight on this carrot too. We also have highlights of a different color here, as you can see. I would like to make them quite blue. I will draw blue here to show these highlights. The more color we have in our illustrations, the richer, the brighter, and more colorful they will look. So now we choose white. I don't think I will add it to our color palette. So now let's add white where necessary. Later we will add a little color. The carrots now appear quite white, I would say. So let's go back to this orange color and add it to the carrots. The highlights that we don't need, we will paint over with orange. Now let's draw our yellow carrot. To do this, we will open our layers, create a new layer and move it under all the other layers. Take the yellow color and start filling. I decided to draw this carrot right away with a marker. I actually wanted to say that it usually takes less time, but in fact it doesn't. It takes me longer to fill with a marker brush than when I use a sketch brush. Don't be afraid to go beyond the edges. We will remove everything unnecessary later. Erase all the unnecessary lines. We select the eraser and erase everything we don't need. Again, this is not necessary at all. Depends on how neat you want your sketch to be, and that's it. Click on our layer with yellow carrots and select Alpha Lock. Now select a darker color and apply shadows to our carrots. Now let's take a brown color from our palette. We'll use this color to paint the bright spots. The advantage of the marker brush is that the harder you press on the brush, the darker the color will be. That is, if you press lightly, the color will be very light or even translucent. Now let's add our brown color to this carrot. Oh, this carrot is more fried than the others. Let's add a few more of these spots to our orange carrots. So go back to our layer with the orange carrot. This way, of course, it becomes quite realistic. Now let's take an even darker color. We take the same color from our palette. Here, here, here. So we get such beautiful carrots. Let's take a little red now, add it to our yellow carrot, press lightly on the brush. Let's go to yellow. Choose a lighter shade. Now you know what? Let's just take a white. And we will draw the highlights only with this color. If we don't press the brush too hard, our highlight will be light yellow. This way we can use white, but still get a variety of shades depending on how hard we apply pressure to the brush. We add our white color chaotically, just like on the orange carrots. Let's take a yellower color and add it too. I chose a fairly lemony shade. I'm not sure if I'm going to add it to our palette. Let's see. Now let's move on to the carrot tails. Again, we open our layers and add a new one. I added a new layer above the layer with our orange carrots. Choose a light green shade. Let's first fill the tails with a sketch brush. Although let's move our layer with the tails to the very bottom. This way we don't have to worry about going over the lines. We can draw this layer under the carrots and therefore it is faster, because we don't need to waste time carefully drawing lines at the base of the tails. Same here. Next tail. Of course, you can do this with a marker brush, whichever is more convenient. We can also color without outlining anything, just color as if we were coloring a coloring book. So we've finished filling. Now we click on our layer with the tails and choose Alpha Lock again as in previous layers. Use a darker shade of green and let's start drawing shadows. For this we take a brush marker again. We actually don't have many shadows here. I draw the shadows quite quickly, I don't waste much time on them. I usually don't compare it with the reference at this stage, but rather draw the shadow rather chaotically. So, yeah. Now I'm done with this shade. Let's now take an even darker shade and add it to the darkest places. The way it sounds. Carrot's darkest places. Now we select our light shade, light green. I also added chaotically. Here we have more. Our tails are all quite light. So yeah, that's basically it. I would not get hung up on these green tones anymore. Let's grab a brown one real quick. Let's draw our burnt tails. The brown color is only on the tips. Now I use the marker here. I press harder on the top of the tail and release it at the end. This way we get a smooth transition from a dark color to a lighter shade. I do the same at the bottom, at the base of the tail. This tail is very fried, so here we need to show a little more brown. We have 2 more tails left. Let's quickly draw them. Let's now choose dark brown and add it on top of our brown color. All our tails are ready too. What else you can do is take the white color and add it on top of the tails. Well, there is a little bit of green missing, so I'll add it a little bit. And that's all. I wouldn't work on the carrots anymore. Now let's move on to the coloring our beautiful black frying pan. Open your layers and add a new layer. Move it under all our other layers. This stage is my favorite. That's when the illustration comes to life, I would say. Let's choose a dark blue shade. I'll take the sketch brush and outline our object and then fill it with the color. So now we've filled it with the color, so we've got our flat frying pan. To give our frying pan volume, let's add shadows and some highlights. Take our marker brush and an even darker shade. Add shadows according to the reference. Let's add them to the right side of the pan first. I don't press the brush too hard to keep the color translucent. If I don't have enough shadows, I'll draw them again. Again, I won't press hard on the brush. Let's add a shadow to the handle. I really like this combination of black and orange with yellow. This way, the illustration is very contrasting and very bright. Now let's draw on this side. Don't forget to draw a shadow underneath the carrots. Now add some shadows to the edges of the pan. Look what we didn't do here. When we were drawing our frying pan, we forgot to select the alpha lock. You can select it and draw inside the layer, or you can just simply leave it like that and draw the shadows without the alpha lock. If you go beyond the edges, you can simply erase them with an eraser. Now let's move on to the light. I'll go with light blue shade. On the right side, we have a highlight, and we'll add it here. Here we have a fairly light side. And here we get a wonderful, beautiful frying pan. Compare our light areas with the reference. When we draw highlights, we also show the thickness of our object. Now let's take white and draw even more highlights. Let's add it here, then we'll add it on the left side. The sides and on the handle of our frying pan. So what we do now? I use this very often in my illustrations. I select the carrot layers again and fill them with shadows. I do this so that the carrots don't hang in the air, but rather lie on the frying pan. So for this, I select a dark blue color, the base color of our frying pan. Let's also add on the top of the carrots. I do the same on the yellow carrots. I draw this reflection of the frying pan along the edges of our carrot. So now we return to the frying pan. To also show that the carrots are lying on the frying pan, I take our reddish color from the palette and add it under the carrot on the frying pan. I add very light strokes. I hardly press on the brush. I do the same with the yellow color. In this way we get the effect of integrity. Our illustration, consisting of a frying pan and carrots, becomes one. That is, we don't have separate carrots and a separate frying pan. By adding such reflections, we connect the objects in our illustration. What we have left to do now is add the background, that is our tablecloth. Let's not waste time here either. Let's choose blue from our palette. And now, comparing with the reference, let's color our tablecloth. I drew the blue parts of the tablecloth blue and the green parts green, respectively. I color it right away with a marker brush. Here we have drawn our tablecloth in blue. If you want to draw a pattern on this tablecloth, then you can chaotically go over it with the white color and create some chaotic strokes. But I wouldn't spend a lot of time on this, since this is the background and there is nothing If you are interested in drawing the background in more detail and would like a tutorial on this topic, please share it with me in the comments. Now I have created another layer on which I will draw green lines. I draw these lines not with even straight lines, but with zigzag lines. Oh, look, here we have one unpainted part left. Let me quickly color it and we will continue. Now erase the extra strokes that go beyond the lines. Now we can connect the two layers with blue and green colors. We need to add white under our tablecloth. To do this, we create a new layer again, drag it down and drag white onto it. More precisely, we don't drag white, but a grayish shade. Now we combine the layers with gray and the layer with blue and green colors of our tablecloth. And now we begin to draw shadows on the tablecloth. So we have a shadow on the left side of the frying pan. Again, don't press the brush very hard. Now we will add a little shadow on the right side. Take a look, we have a fold on the tablecloth, and on this fold we can draw a shadow even darker. Everything else on this background can be made lighter. Now we go to our layers. Click on our layers with shadows for the tablecloth and choose what suits us best. As you can see, the shadows immediately connect and make the illustration either lighter or darker. Let's choose a linear burn in this case. We can reduce the transparency a little. The shadow thus naturally falls on our illustration. What we can do, we can make the white areas even whiter, of course. Note that the light comes from the right side. So, this is the drawing we got and I hope you like it. Now, if you want, we can create a new layer above all the layers we've got. Select the pencil brush, the pencil 6B, and draw all the lightest areas with the brush. Look where the light hits the most, and that's where we draw on top of the layers with our brush. You can also add a few strokes to the light areas. What we're missing in this illustration is parsley. Let's create a new layer under the layer with our white pencil. Let's take a sketch brush. Let's make the brush a bit bigger and randomly draw the parsley. You can even make the brush a little bigger. You can draw not only shapes but also spots or stripes. So now we have enough parsley. Let's turn on alpha lock on our layer. Now select a dark shade and randomly apply it to our layer. We do the same with a light shade. tutorial is over now. I really hope you liked it. If so, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!